Hello everybody, my name is CraigBennettII, and today I'm going to get into a video, and this is going to be encoding.
Vitcon Communications.
So as far as things goes, basically I'm be using this game as an example on what not to do in user interface systems, and that way if you develop any user interface systems or have to direct over someone that is dealing with user interface systems, what to actually look out for. Now, as far as things goes, I believe that it is very important to look at both the successes and failures of a interface system, and that way you actually go ahead and figure out what to do or what not to do. So, as far as this goes, I'm mostly going to be using this right here as an example for this particular video, the research and development. You don't need to know anything else about this particular game, don't really matter, but just note that it has research development and also economy. With the development, you obviously have stuff to build. You got to build the item with stuff, so that's where the economy comes in, and you got to buy stuff. Well, as far as that goes, some of the biggest problems I see with a lot of programs, especially unsuccessful programs and new programmers, is flaw in two areas. First off is the amount of tasks it takes to do something. The second is real estate. Real estate tends to be more of a problem. But the as far as things goes, those are the two biggest. If I got to add a third one, then I'll say probably user ease. User ease is how easy it is for a user to actually use your programs. This is fairly important, and this is why it's not important to be the first out in line. So, say for example, you might have a game like Clash of Clans. Well, there's 5 billion other type of Clash of Clans. Some very successful, most not so much. But if it has a great user interface, if it solves the problem, in that case being entertainment, but if it solves the problem and it has a great interface, then it tends to be a hit. Especially if there's marketing. If no one knows about your product, you can have the best rock and roll, but might as well be none if no one knows about it. But as long as it has a great interface, it solves the problem and has great marketing behind it, then it'll tend to be a success. So as far as things goes, I'm going to be taking a look at this where it's the research part of it. It's just give you a little bit of background. The research, basically in this game, you got to research an item, and then after that you can go ahead and develop the item, given you have the material. And if you don't have the material, then you can go into the store or planet side onto the store and get the materials for the item. Well, here's the thing. Here's the kicker. There's one of the first things is you got a real estate problem here. So whenever you deal with real estate on a screen, so say for example, if you got a full screen application or maybe partial screen or whatever it may be, the thing that you want to have in front of the person at any given time is only relevant information. You might have, say for example, in some applications it has like a hamburger menu, the 3 or 4 lines on the top left or top right depending on the device, and you click that and the menu comes out. Well, that is relevant information. The user clicked that, so relevant information came out, and they can select and go to a different area if they want. Well, what's in front of the user needs to be relevant information. See, if this screen showed something in every square inch, like say for example, the height, the width, blah, 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 as a user, I don't care about these things. That's an information overload. Every square inch does not have to be consumed. It needs to be able to be easily understood at a glance, but a big thing with this is it needs to be relevant. How wide is this? How tall is it? or the shape of it, yada yada yada. That stuff doesn't matter. What it looks like, sure, that's okay, but let's go with that. Maybe the information over here as far as damage to weight, sure, okay, that's relevant information. But one key information that it doesn't have, so it actually gives you not enough information, is the materials that it's made out of. Note that each, again, like I said, each thing, you have to research it, then development. Well, how do I know I can even make this if I researched it? How do I know that it's worth my time versus going from either this or that? How do I know which is worth my time? It's being able to have the proper information in front of you at the given time. And notes that you can get it right there, but here's the problem: is can the actual user see this? And can the actual user understand where this is? This is fairly important. This is why I'm actually pushing this one pretty hard. Is I've actually, no joke, seen game reviewers who are well within their right to do this, who's well beyond experience into playing games and dealing with the stuff, who makes literally in the millions of dollars just to say this is good, this is not, to give an honest opinion and all this stuff, who sits down and actually goes through his stuff, who does that stuff for an actual living and makes a great amount for it. Almost none of them saw that little button right there. Almost none of them saw that and understood that it brought up that. By glance, it does not give anyone proper information. You got a massive amount of real estate right under the actual in-game product. You have a massive amount of real estate right here that could be used. Instead, the person actually has to click on that. That's a major problem. That's a major problem. Because what a lot of people are experiencing is, oh, I don't see what it takes to make out of this, so I have to go all the way back here and take a look here where it actually shows. And then let's go into something like this. And then on top of that, I don't even know what any of this means. What does that mean? Obviously over here, if you take a look, this is it tells you right there, but this gets into the placement and understanding how the user is going to use the system. This is improper use of actual real estate. See, here's the thing: is if you're developing a product, software-wise, website even, if you're developing a product for a English-speaking country, or majority of your products going to an English-speaking country, the most important is the top left. Least important is the bottom right. The user probably won't make it all the way down to the bottom, and that's a fairly important thing to note. It's a real estate problem. The developers could have easily changed the color here because it blends in way too easily into all this other stuff, but they could easily moved the requirements up towards the top, and people probably won't have missed it. Yes, it might not look great, but you can actually work around it and work with it, because it's a user interface and you can easily work around that. It's fairly important to note that you're dealing with that, and keep in mind you're dealing with not people who's using for something like this, not people who's using a product to work, so they don't They don't have to use it. It's not like Outlook where a worker is sitting there having to use it to do their job. Whether they like it or not, they got to be there. You got someone who's paying a game or they're using it on their own time, and they're going like that. Especially with something like this, an action stuff. You know, you got someone who's trying to go from one thing to the next. They're going to miss things like that, and you may need to make sure that they can't. That's fairly important. That is very, very important because, like, say right here, I've seen a lot of people on the forums and most other places just for this one particular game go in and say, what is EZ? And if you go over here, it will say what it is. Well, the thing here is this is a real estate problem. The person actually has, and this is for right here for this particular interface, the person actually has to scroll down when the actual relevant, useful information is this. The actual person, keep in mind, the actual person who's using this type of program, even though it's a game, they probably don't care about the lore. It's not as relevant. Okay, you can have it, whatever, but it's not as relevant. The relevant pieces of information is specifically what it's made out of, and that down there. That's fairly important to understand because not only the developers are feeding us irrelevant or slightly irrelevant, depending on the user, but more so they're hiding or putting stuff in bad locations. This is again a real estate problem. So as far as that goes, that's fairly important. And by the way, if the country, the person reads from left to right, they first look at the top left and go from there, or up and down. If they read and it starts from the top left, then that's where their eyes naturally go to. That's something that's psychologically trained into each one of us at very young ages when we learn how to read. So if you're coming from a country, like say for example, if you're been in America for a number of years where we read from top left to right. Well, if you were in the country sometime when you were little and you know before you got into your teens and you read from top right to whatever or any other part to whatever, then that's where your eyes will try to naturally go to some point. Obviously, that can be corrected over time by habitation, basically habits and stuff. But it's a psychological thing that's learned from a very young age. Is the most important information needs to start over here. That's the reason why in websites and stuff you will have advertisements more so in the right side, because the advertisement portion is not as important unless if the advertisement is a paid tier, a high tier, premier tier, that's the word I was going for, a premier tier type of payment. You're almost always going to see it on the right side, because the actual overall websites, the news articles or whatever it may be, they're going to have the advertisements in there because money, but the person is going to the actual article or going to the video or going to whatever it may be in order to use the product and not so much to look at the advertisements. So to keep the person, it's from left to right. Now, you can get away with, because something like here, it's international, you can get away with just having all your focus on the middle, which is what you should do for most programs. But in any case, I don't know if there is a single language that reads from the bottom up. wouldn't doubt there might be one, but because majority, if not all, languages read from top down, the most important information, and like a scroll field like this, it needs to be towards the top or very close towards the top. Basically, in order to figure out this, the user should not have to scroll down. This is just a pure out flaw in the interface system. So as far as that goes, that's a major thing. So figure beat that dead horse enough. But what about the task? This is a fairly important thing into itself. So say for example, let's go back into there and take a look at this. So say for example, oh, I don't have enough EZ. And then I go down here, try to figure out what EZ is, and I could see that. So I have to go to an interface. So now I know what EZ is because, you know, it's flashing right there. That's where my eyes can go to. That's kind of an obvious thing. Hey, it draws your eye. This ain't gonna draw my eye, and that's kind of an amazing thing that they that's not. It's a redundancy in information, which is not a major problem, but this it just bugs crap out of me. But anyways, since that's going to draw the person's eye, they're going to say, oh, it's element 0, so they have to go all the way back to the store in order to get the item if it's there. Well, here's the thing: is the user of your program should not go beyond 3 steps to accomplish a task. Obviously, this is something that you cannot set in stone forever on end, but for most programs, it has to be that way, especially if it's a entertainment type of program. Here's the thing: is if this was a workstation, right? I can get away with screwing around with this a little bit more. I can get away with 5, 6, 12, or whatever steps because the person has to deal with it. Yes, I got to make sure that the interface is better than competition, but I can get away with it because it's expected to be a little bit more advanced, and the person has to be at work anyways. But the person does not have to play this. The person does not have to do use Facebook. The person does not have to use Gmail versus something else. The person does not have to do certain things. So basically what needs to happen is you need to have it within 3 steps or sooner if possible. So for this, let's count this as step 1, just seeing what is needed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 is going and finding that. 6, 7, 8, and then let's say that it did have it, then selecting is 9, buying is 10. 10 steps. Again, a person does not have to play this. This is not a workstation. This is not something where a person has to be here anyways. You know, if the developers did this and it was just this one thing, fine. But you're seeing a lot of complaints with this particular game because of the menu layout, and this is actually why. A lot of people, they cannot, the average person cannot explain. They say it's a bad menu, and if you ask why, they really can't explain. But this is actually why. It's the user interface, the real estate problem, plus this other, and this particular one will kill it. Probably not for this particular game, but if you make your own stuff because you don't have the backing of $40 million in marketing and it's all this other crap, the fact is it'll probably toast you. So that's fairly important. That's very, very important. Is the task. So another thing is I mean, take a look at oh, I don't know what type of material stuff is. And this is what most, again, the game reviewers and most other people, the average person who doesn't even see what this is, because I mean, from here it looks like lore, and here it doesn't really grab your eye, whatever. So all they're seeing is this. So all they're seeing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that, or seeing that, oh, they don't have it here, so they're just gonna have to look it up online. It's fairly important. It's fairly important, and that's why a lot of people are complaining about this particular game with the user interface, specifically the menu system, how things are buried on stuff one on top of another. Their problem there is the actual that exact thing, how things are buried on top of each other. So one thing I want you to note is something like with here in this particular game is it has categories. So you got, your weapons and assault rifles and whatever. You can go from there. Well, here's the thing. It notes that it doesn't have SMG. So go into research, go into weapons, and they're not in categories. I'm just like, I'm just looking for snipers or assault rifles or whatever. Or you get someone who doesn't know about guns or whatever the item is in the game, and they don't even know what class is SMG for this particular game. That's fairly important to know, because the fact is you can actually have someone that goes in, and in order for someone to go in and upgrade a given part, they have to go through all this stuff, find a part, and then upgrade it from there. And that's the problem. Is this is, again, with a previous thing, is a task, the amount of tasks it takes to get things done. Whereas, like, okay, I want to find a sniper rifle. So let's go to weapons. I go to sniper rifles, open that up. So that's 2 steps. The third step is just finding it and selecting it. So, going from there. This is how things should have been. Going out through this entire thing, and this is how your program should be, as far as being able to do things in 3 steps. A simple thing like that. That's as simple as that. Now, I just want to show, getting in a little bit more into showing you how bad a user interface is. So this particular game, I know I'm going a little bit long on this, but this will hopefully emphasize a little bit more on the real estates and the tasks and stuff like that. Especially in the amount of resources that you feed someone. This particular game, it's basically a space game. It's a RPG role-playing game, and basically you go to different planets to do different things. That's all you need to know. So you got main missions type of stuff, and some of the places you got, you can actually go and select by planets and whatever. But most of these side missions are in this area. Now, the problem here is this particular game, the person could be any given planet. They don't know if the given planets, like say for example, I don't know which planet this mission's on. I don't know what planets this next mission's on. I don't know. There's no indication at all. There's no indication on any of that. That's pretty important to note. And then on top of that, I gotta go through all this stuff. Basically, if I want to find a very particular mission to do, so just like, say for example, if you're making a program for a worker, they would have to go through all the files to read each one and say, oh, I want that file. Or here with a gamer, they have to go through each one to figure out, is this the one I was actually looking for versus something else? That's fairly important to note. Is the how hard is it for the person to actually, one, get to where they want, but two, how hard is it for them to understand that information? It's fairly important to note. It's very, very important to note. See if this is up and running so I can show you a little bit more on the resources. Apparently not. Apparently that's not up and running. But thing over there, there's a little bit more information. Like, say for example, with some of the teammates and stuff like that, the on the loadouts thing that I was trying to show, there's a lack of information. I'll leave a link down below to a review someone's done, a very professional review on the user interface and a few other things on here that gets into that little part. But I highly suggest that you check that out to understand what is a bad interface and how to improve upon the interface in general. That's fairly important to understand. A lot of people don't like going into user interface systems because they simply don't understand basic things, real estate, the amount of information to give someone, and task. That's a major thing. The thing is I find user interface systems, if a company wants to hire me to just do user interface systems, I'll be pig in heaven type of thing. Because the thing is that is a easy job. Because you just got to remember those three things. You got to remember how much resources are you giving out. Are you giving out stuff that is relevant, or are you giving out stuff that is too much? Are you giving out stuff that is just relevant to the situation, giving out too much or too little? How to get it where the person can actually add more information. It's fairly important. I mean, here's an example. Just a website. So again, YouTube, it's mostly aimed for English speaking stuff, so the most important, and this is almost universal. Websites, left, right, most important is on left. So the interface systems, the menus, the stuff of this nature. The least important stuff is on the right. The even worse is on the very bottom area. So stuff like the footers, the sitemaps, stuff like that. Well, here's the thing. Let's say that you got someone who wants information and doesn't want to be overloaded or can't be overloaded. Maybe they got a disability, or maybe the information really truly is overloading if you got everything up there. So what you can have is something like here where it has this is called a hamburger menu, and it opens up and gets to extra information. This is part of the going from one part of an area to another part of an area. So basically, in order to go to my subscriptions, what I'm subscribed, I can go and just step 1 is here, step 2 is clicking that, step 3 is clicking that, and we're good to go. I can see the descriptions from there. Or if I want to go into my stuff, I can click that and go to whatever. On YouTube and most professional sites like this, you'll see everything to be about around 3 steps, give or take. That's fairly important to note into itself. It's a 3-step type of process. Sometimes it takes a little bit more than that, depending on the scenario. But on average, you need to be aiming for 3 steps. But more so is you give only information as needed. So for example, right here, we can close that easily and have it where it's not bugging a person, but you can have it where the amount of information or the type of information isn't overloading someone. So for example, if the reason why YouTube has and Google has chose this format of going horizontal versus up and down is up and down. It gives you, and you can obviously switch it on your own, but by default they do horizontal, is because that's up and down. It gives you too much information. One, some of it's not relevant. Two, it's just too much information in general. If you go into the training tab, you can see some of this where it's almost too much information, but it's not a huge amount. It's nothing like the thousands of videos or whatever amounts there. It's nothing like that. Basically, you end up having information as far as the thumbnail, the title, who made it, and a little bit more information than that. But in general sense, that's too much information, and let's say that the user doesn't care for that. They don't care about that information at all. They only will go for something like, say for example, right here, I'll be interested in seeing that just from that itself. I don't need to see the description. I don't need to see all this other stuff like this other. That's fairly important to understand. The amount of information that you're given, the steps that it takes to get from one place to another, and stuff of this nature. So as far as that goes, I wonder if I don't think they have a way to change this one, but I know with the subscriptions, few other things, they have a way for the people to change the up and down and side to side. And on channel pages, they give us permission to change all that stuff. But that's fairly important to note. And if this helped you out at all, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe and whatnot. And feel free to let me know what you have questions on, or if you want to add on to here. If you feel like I got information wrong, then feel free to let me know in the comment section, and I'll take a look into it and whatnot. But yeah, as far as this goes, user interface systems, specifically if you're the programmer, that if you're not having to deal with the back-end function for me is a grok. Like, I can do it, it's no problem. And because most of my applications and programs, I'm it, so I got to do it no matter what. So I'm a full stack in that sense. But as far as that goes, I personally would prefer user interface because it's just a ton more easier. Most people, they hate dealing with user interface systems because they simply don't understand these basic things. But it'll make your job a lot easier, and especially if you're it will make your program have much better likely to be in success. Again, keep in mind, marketing needs to be there. If people don't know about it, then might as well be no problem. A best product in the world, if no one knows about it, as far as marketing goes, then might as well not be a product at all. But anyways, as far as that goes, if you've got any questions, anything else, then feel free to let me know in the comment section. And as I said before, I'll see you next video, and I hope you have a great day.